Live from the Findlay Toyota Studios, it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Cofield and Company. Excited here on a Wednesday. Another one of those racy days in Las Vegas as we follow up VGK in game number 4. Oh, boy. What a bummer. We'll go through the highlights here in the next 5 minutes. We got A's baseball continuing at LV Ballpark. I was at the game last night. We'll talk about that a little bit. Another big home run game for the A's. They've got 12 now in the series. They won last night, so the Brew Crew and A's have split the series. You can listen to A's baseball tonight and all season long on the LV Sports Network, all our stations. Tonight's game is on ESPN Las Vegas. Coverage will start here at 5:30, so we go out a little early on Cofield and Company and the NBA Finals. All right, I am ready. I'm loving this. NBA Finals Game 4. Coverage starts at 5 o'clock on Raider Nation Radio 920, so that's 9:20 a.m. So the NBA is the gift that keeps on giving, and a lot of the themes are the same over the years, and I've been covering sports long enough, I'm an old man now, that you kind of see a repeat of the themes and the storylines. And fouling and toughness and dirty play and threats have happened forever. Frankly, New York should know it better than anyone because New York, along with the Pistons, kind of started that whole thug, rough, grab, clutch era that all you guys said you hated, which I often point out, you hated when I did sports radio. You hated that when I was doing sports radio in the 90s, the rough play, and then things opened up and they started playing feeble ball and shooting threes, and then you're like, I hate that too. Like, okay. So I never know. It's the same group of NBA fans. They're going to complain and piss and moan about no matter what's going on. But what this has turned into now is constant complaining by the Knicks to a certain extent, but they've got their mouthpieces because doing their bidding are all these New York-based media people. And I don't call in to question media agendas. Lots of the stuff in the end are bits. But there is sometimes a lack of objectivity when you're around a story for like 30, 40, 20, whatever, 10 years, 50 years. When you're around the Knicks story, you can get a little soft and you can lose your objectivity. And I pointed out yesterday, if you're watching, say, Get Up in the Morning, which is a good recap show, good debate show, led by Greenie, right, from New York. Monica McNutt is on the show. She's the color voice of the Knicks. BBW, as I call him, Big Brian Windhorst. Well, I'll say he's objective, right? He's an Ohio guy. He covered LeBron forever. Good NBA guy. The other two panelists are Alan Hahn, who's a New York writer, and then Jason Williams, who grew up like 20 miles from me in New Jersey. Like, I'm not saying they're not objective, but you can see where they're going to lean a little Knicks. So they're kind of serving as this mouthpiece in this whole thing where after the game, Mike Brown complains about the officiating. Spurs outshoot the Knicks 24-8 in free throws in the second half, attempted. And now Wemby is somehow a big, tough, rough guy who's playing dirty. He is 7'4" and 210. He's 210 pounds. He threw Jalen Brunson to the floor. They didn't call it. Did you watch every other matchup that was going on the floor around that play? Like, everyone was wrestling and clutching and grabbing. That's what the game is right now in this series. It is about playing physical. It's about knocking people off their mark. On the Knicks side, they want to beat the piss out of the 7'4", 210 guy and stop his forward progress. On the Spurs side, there's a short, doughy Jalen Brunson who's 6 foot and 200 pounds. He's a little guy. So they're going to beat the snot out of him. And the tables turned. They started beating him up even more. And he hasn't been great in this series. He's been good in the big moments, making shots in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, some of the stuff that's coming out, I love Mad Dog Russo. But he is a New York-based, he grew up in New York. He's a New York-based radio guy. He's doing TV with Stephen A. Smith. He's got his Mad Dog Radio. I worked on Mad Dog Radio for a good number of years. I admire the guy, and a lot of it he's ham and egging it. But he starts calling Wemby a dirty player, and that was out of line the other day. Listen to him here whine and convetch, and also kind of threaten, like, "Hey, Knicks, wake up now! The Spurs are giving you something easy here. They're getting you fired up. Spurs shouldn't be doing this."
I thought that Wembanyama, I'm a little down on him. And I do think that anything right now, if you're San Antonio, to rile up the Knicks is not the right thing to do. The Knicks still lead 2-1. You still have to win another game in that building. They're going to be much better tonight. They did beat you twice late in home in San Antonio. Let's take it easy if you're the Spurs. You're 2-1 down on the road, and you're still going to win a road game. So, I mean, the idea now that you're going to think, well, we're going to beat them 4 in a row. Well, you know what? Wembanyama is going to show how tough he is. Take it easy. Bring it down. Don't rile him up.
Why wouldn't you rile him up? It worked. They knocked Brunson off his mark. They couldn't shoot the 3 ball at all. The physicality got to the Knicks. No, they should play the same style. And the other thing is, and I think Mad Dog played some competitive tennis as a Ute. When you play basketball, and I'm not some great basketball player, but it's about physicality. And that moment from Wemby, that was in the heat of the moment. They're busting his chops all game. He's got a little guy in front of him. He throws him out of the way. Hey, they don't call the foul. I'll do it again. This whole, it's premeditated or be careful. You're getting them riled up. Come on. Pro athletes generally don't operate this way. The Knicks are going to come out. Believe me, if Anthony Mason rises from the grave and Charles Oakley is actually allowed in the building by that dirtbag James Dolan, then maybe 7-on-5, they can get rough and beat the hell out of him. That's the other thing. That's the other thing with the Knicks fans right now. Big news today. The NBA reviews a play where a guy gets thrown to the floor. That's now expected to be a flagrant? What has happened to basketball? And I am not one of these guys who are back in my day, they used to play really rough. And, Dolph Shays had 17 broken noses. I don't do that. But how soft are we? Is this really what you want tonight? I'm going to build on this in the 5 o'clock hour before we go to the game. I'm telling you, you don't want this. And unfortunately, I think there's so much whining here. You watch what happens in tonight's game. So all these finals are basically the same in the physical sports. Listen, the Knights, after last night, guess what? They got to be more physical because this nonsense of guys like Stahl or Stankoven, as little as he is, being in front of the net cannot happen with the bigger team. Cannot happen. Listen to the highlights here. First of all, Dan Duva on the call here, but the game gets off to just an awful start. As I just mentioned, Stankoven, here he is as a puck ricochets off the back wall, and in it goes.
And just one goal in the last 16. Carolina wins the draw. Chatfield shoots it wide. Rebound, score! Backhand rebound for Stankoven. It's minute into game 4. The Hurricanes strike first. Logan Stankoven.
Yeah, 106 into the game. It's 1-0, and Stankoven is 5'10", and 160, and he's standing in front of the net. Now, you're going to get wild bounces of the puck off the wall. Carter Hart whipped on it, but Stankoven standing right there, and Jeremy Lauzon just did not. He lost track of the play. He just did not move him. This can't happen, and it's happening a lot. Just a couple minutes later, power play, not a great trip by Shea Theodore to set up the power play, and then you have almost a mini 3-on-2 within 11 feet of the net, and again, clear path right across the net, and in goes the goal for Blake.
Ehlers, he shoots, save, rebound, McNabb couldn't clear the zone. Looked like he was trying to hand it off to a teammate, it didn't work. Now a backdoor pass, they score! Jackson Blake, just as the penalty time expired. 2-0 Hurricanes, 3.5 minutes into game 4.
Jackson Blake with the goal. So then it goes to the end of the first period. It goes 3-1. Stone scores, Stahl scores. So you have that disallowed goal, which, that was at 0.2 of a second, 0.1 of a second. That was really, really close. And, hey, the Knights have come out when they're down at the beginning of periods in strong fashion, and here's Carlson getting one on the board to get it 3-2.
Marner pushes it out. Marner gets a step into the zone, 1 against 2. Navigating right, Anderson gets the loose puck. Centers, they score! William Carlson set up by Rasmus Anderson, and the Knights are within a goal.
Duva on the call there, and really the setup was great work down the middle by Mitch Marner. He's basically 1v2, gets into a dangerous zone. Behind the net is Anderson. He controls it well, and then Wild Bill with an awesome one-timer. So 3-2. Rest of the period, not a whole lot in terms of, there's no goal scoring. And then Brett Howden, again, he does it. 14 goals now in the postseason. Only had, 11 during the regular season as he picks a perfect spot to beat Bosi.
Picked up on the right by Jarvis. His pass got tipped. To center it goes Sissons. Howden, a 2-on-1. Howden pulls. He shoots. He scores!
right over Bussey's right shoulder. Sisson with really good work, too, there in front of the net. Not that he touched the puck, but he definitely was a distraction for the Canes goalie. So you got 3-3 going to the final period. And then, man, we're going to hear from Torts on this one. Too many mistakes on this play as you get a turnover, then you can't clear the puck, and here comes Stahl.
Hurricanes send it in over the goal. Picked up by Theodore again, turns it over, Jarvis in front, stopped! Oh, what a save! Jarvis stopped by Hart at point-blank range, another chance, they score! On his belly, Jordan Stahl deflects the loose puck home, and Carolina takes a 4-3 lead.
What a freaking nightmare. I don't get to hear these calls. We have them in the system. I don't listen to them. I want to hear them organically. I wasn't listening to the game. I was actually watching it and also keeping an eye at LVB on the A's game. But a great delivery of what happened there. Awful turnover by Theodore. He pitched it right in front of the net. And then Jarvis he is right there. Carter Hart made an awesome save, kicks it out to his right, and then you see 4 Golden Knights go towards the puck with 1 Canes player in the corner. McNabb gets his stick on it weakly. He tries to clear it. And then Jarvis gets it back and throws it across to Stahl, who was falling down and backwards, flips it into the net. And then with Hart out of the net, down the stretch, less than 2 minutes left. This was like one of the most amazing clears I've ever seen. It was a lucky bounce off the glass, but it was so far out on the empty netter.
Hurdle and knocked over by Chatfield. Hurricanes clear the zone. It's going to go down and toward the goal. It's in! Empty net goal for the Hurricanes with a minute to play.
Yep, nightmare. 5-3. They lose it. Here's Torts after the game expressing his frustration with some of the sloppy play.
Well, I thought we battled back, probably, and I thought our third period was probably our best period. The frustrating part for me is they don't earn their winning goal. You know, it's not so much the turnover. Carter makes a great save. But just after that, we make another mistake and we leave the front of the net. So, yeah. So there are a lot of good minutes in the game. It's just for free. That's a hard one for me in the third period.
Yep, it was for free. And he mentioned we leave the front of the net. And here's where he mentions that 4 guys went for the corner and the puck and got duped.
Stahl's goal, I think, the one that hit Nabber's glove. We have him, but we let him off the hook. He's killing us in front of the net, Stahl. So we have got to do a better job around the blue. There were people there. The last one, it was a bit of a panic. Everybody chased the corner after a turnover.
Yep, nightmare. So they lose 5-3, and now they're on the road tomorrow. Short rest. And they will be the dog tomorrow night. We'll go over the series odds in a little bit. Justin Watkins is going to be in later on to break down the game a little bit further. But, yeah, depressing night, 5-3 loss. Fought back from a 2-0 deficit. Not necessarily in the driver's seat, but in pretty decent shape. And then the third period's been rough for this team. 2-2 series, but the third period has not gone mostly the way, even if on the scoreboard it did, mostly the way of the Golden Knights. Let's do a giveaway right now. Yep. We've got Stanley Cup Final, game number 6 coming back to town in just a couple of days, but we've got Major League Baseball on the ground through the weekend. Rockies are in town coming up. We've got a 3-game series Friday through Sunday. Here's tickets to one of the games. Caller 7, A's and Rockies at LVB, 364-1100, 364-1100. Caller 7, Las Vegas Ballpark. We'll have the tickets here for you to pick up. But A's and Rockies tickets, caller 7 right now. James going to hook you up, 364-1100.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Yeah, I was going to come out of the gate to start ranting and raving about the Knights. I mean, they knew what they did. I don't have to be some doting parent. They know the mistakes, and these mistakes have been happening throughout the series. I don't think Carter Hart's been terrible. That's another interesting angle. What Torts could do with Carter Hart, because that's his guy. Like, he ain't there. This ain't a Carolina situation where they're gonna change from Freddie to Bussy. This is it. He's the guy. But a lot of last night he was kind of helpless on some of those plays and not clearing people from out in front of the net. That's kind of a basic, and Torts said it. We are graced by the presence of the 1995 AL Rookie of the Year, Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Famer, our buddy Marty Cordova, who we haven't seen in forever. What's going on?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You have a lot going on with we got a big project you have happening, or you have opening up here over on the west side of town, which we'll get to in about 10 minutes. But what do you think as a guy who was, were you born here?
Yeah, I was born here.
Born and bred here. You went to Gorman. Like I said, 1995 AL Rookie of the Year. When we were coming up, and I wasn't here. I'm slightly younger than you, thank God. But like none of this was here in terms of Major League Sports.
Yeah.
So what do you think as I'm opening the show talking about the NHL Stanley Cup Final on the ground here in Vegas? The fact that the Knights are here and what they do for the community in terms of the kind of bonding and they win. It's pretty incredible from where you were, say, as a high school kid in the late 80s.
Yeah, when we grew up here, there was no Major League Sports. It was like, who's your favorite football team? Well, mine was the
Chargers?
The Chargers, because they were close, and Spanos the owner was a friend of mine, so that's who we followed. We didn't have a team. Who was my baseball team? Well, my brother was Cincinnati Reds fan, so that's who I was a fan of. And now having all these sports here is amazing. Golden Knights here, it's great to have them in the community. Raiders football, people thought football would never come here because of gambling, and now you have all these major sports. We're like a real grown-up city now.
Right?
Yeah.
You told me years ago about the whole season ticket process for the Raiders. Did you get in with the Knights, or do you not have interest?
I did in the first 2 seasons, and then it's just too much. There's just too many home games, and it was just getting to where I wasn't able to go enough. So I decided I'll just go when I have the chance to go, because 40 games is a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes there'll be 5 or 6 in a row, and I'm like, I just don't have the time to go. And I was finding I was either giving them away or just not using them, and I'm like, that's not a true fan. You got to be dedicated to go to all the games. If
you should have kept them. I would have taken them. Actually, I don't have time to go to all the games either. It's a busy schedule, and for season ticket holders, I admire the loyalty. I think for the league, it's also really cool because these are areas. I mean, right now, Raleigh, North Carolina is playing Las Vegas, and I know it pisses off like Montreal and Toronto and whatever, Minneapolis and New York and Boston and Philly to no end that we are in cities that have good hockey teams. But I think in the long run, it's really going to help hockey spread more and more and more by putting it in markets like this. And now Salt Lake has a team.
I totally agree. You have to expose sports to other kids and to build a sport. Right now, hockey's becoming big. I know Gorman's got a hockey team now. That's where I went to high school. And it just spreads. I didn't know anything about hockey when they came here. I didn't even want to go. And then
Did you ever ice skate when you were growing up?
I did a little bit, but I wasn't really into.
Like where did you skate? Do you remember?
We roller skated.
Okay,
when we were young. And then there was like Ice Palace or whatever it was, and people would skate. I think one of the casinos, maybe that line Station Casinos, had an ice rink, but it just
Santa
wasn't
Fe's
popular.
had one forever.
Yeah, Santa Fe.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up in a cold weather area, and I think we only had like 2 rinks to where you could play hockey, close by in New Jersey. And they have a franchise, but yeah, it's cool the way it's spreading right now. And then VGK is also great in the community, so they're building all these rinks. Pretty close to where I live on the I always call it the center part of town because North has gotten so big, but like Lorenzi Park has street hockey. They set that up so you can play some street hockey. So it's pretty cool what's happening in Las Vegas right now. In all your dealings, you're around the UFC, your buddies with Dana White, your pals with Max Crosby. I feel like in cities, I mean, you tell me, in cities that you played at in the past, did you cross paths with other teams, with other athletes, or does that happen more when you're done with your career?
I think it did a little bit, but not a lot, because football season was different than baseball season. We'd see a few of the players come and go. A few of the hockey players with Toronto came through the clubhouse when I was playing with the Blue Jays. But it really is, a lot of guys don't live in the towns they play in. It's very, they come to play their season and they go back to where they're from. So yeah, you get a few guys from other teams that are in your city, but not a lot. But now that I'm here, you get the opportunity to be around guys like Max Crosby, and Dana with the UFC, so I'm getting exposed. And a lot of the athletes come through the UFC that are coming to watch the fights. I get to meet a lot of guys.
Well, it's also different here, too, in terms of where they live, because we have the benefit of no state income tax. So, like, I don't know, when you were in Toronto, were you like, my God, how much money are they going to take out of my checks?
Yeah, it was definitely a thing. In Canada, you're going to pay 20% to the Canada government and 20% to the U.S. government. But at least living in Nevada, when you play home games, they revert to your home state for state income tax. So I didn't have to pay state income tax on those games. But the taxing was nuts. You had to pay tax in New York. You had to pay when you're on the road. You had to pay a state tax, a city tax, a couple other taxes. Taxing was real when you play sports. Not that I'm complaining.
No,
you did very well, but it was a lot of taxes.
I'm just telling the story, right? Then that's why places like Texas and Florida and Vegas have advanced pretty well in hockey because we do have the advantage of guys want to come here. I'm sure Mitch Marner's like, first of all, he hated Toronto because the fans treated him like terribly, really awfully. And now he comes here, he gets a bigger check, and that's why I think the Panthers have been a good organization. It gives you a little advantage. Tampa's been a good organization. Dallas, the Stars have been a good organization. Marty Cordova's in studio with us. We're going to get to some baseball in a little bit. He's got a new project he's working on. Last couple things about the sports community here. Did you keep your Raiders tickets?
Yes, I did. I'll never give up my Raiders tickets.
Do you go to every game?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Mark Davis thanks you.
Yeah.
Because I think MD is constantly annoyed when he goes into the building. He's like, why are there so many fans from the other teams here?
Yeah, I wear my Raiders jersey. I wear my Max Crosby jersey to support him, and I go to every game. I have 4 tickets, so I typically will go with my brother, and then family or friends will take the other 2 tickets. I'm not going to lie, I've sold some tickets when I haven't been in town and there wasn't people to go, but I love going, and I just enjoy being around football, and I love the sport.
How much do you know about Mendoza? Do you know anything about him? Did you watch him last year at all at Indiana?
Just a little bit, as everybody is kind of watching the playoffs, and what struck me was his composure, and he seems like just a good kid, and that's the kind of guys you want, are guys that focus on sports. They don't have a lot of things distracting them. They work hard. They want to learn. They're smart guys. That's who you want your quarterback to be, is just a guy that studies the game. That's all he wants to do is play the game. No distractions, and again, you have to be. There's so much. We were talking about this earlier. There's so many things you have to know. So many positions, so many reads as a quarterback. You have to be smart to play the position well.
Marty Cordova's with us, so I want to get your take on this: the clubhouse or the locker room with Cousins and Mendoza. So Mendoza, some of the worry when people scouted him were like, it's kind of corny. Like he's like really nice kid, but. Is that stuff going to go over well in the locker room? So then they bring another guy in who's the same guy.
Yeah. So
it's like, well, the older guy and the younger guy are the same. Were you in Major League Baseball clubhouses where, like, can you be too nice as an athlete? And then, we've baseball. Actually, you know what a good example is? I don't know if you remember the story, but Bernie Williams was like a really nice guy, and Mel Hall was kind of a bastard. I'm not worried about that happening to Mendoza, but were you ever in a clubhouse where it was like, man, there's someone in this guy is so nice that some of the players are like, man, I don't know, we can't really vibe with you?
I think it's more of how well you do. If you're a good player, you can almost have any personality you want, and guys are cool with you. But if you are like weak and you show weakness, it's a lot of A personalities in there, and a lot of guys are brutal, and we talk a lot of trash, and you better have thick skin or you're not going to survive. You have to learn to get along with your players. I'm sure he's going to be a team leader, and people respect the results. And you're right, Cousins is an older version of him. He's kind of a nerdy guy. He's not going to do anything crazy. He's probably not a lot of fun to go out and hang around with. But I guess I don't know him. I shouldn't say that, but that's okay. I think guys want their quarterback to be a little nerdy. They want him to be, a team leader and all that, but want him focused on the game and not so much about maybe some of the distractions that can happen.
Who's the best player that you played with, or maybe you had knowledge of against, that was just a nice guy, but he was like kind of corny and stuck to himself? Maybe wasn't a guy that would go out and throw him back and womanize or whatever, but he was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I think that we talked about it earlier. Sean Casey was that guy. They called him the mayor of Major League Baseball. Sean Green was another super nice guy, very quiet. I played with quite a few guys that were like that. They were just quiet, nice guys, and then you had your rowdy dudes that wanted to get in fights and wanted to start trouble. But most of the time, you're so focused on winning and doing well. There's a lot of pressure involved in sports, so you're coming together as a team, and you're really pulling for each other. That's when on good teams, anyways. You're more looking at your commonalities and less of what you don't like about somebody. So and winning breeds that. When you're winning, it's easier to get along. Obviously, when you're losing, fans are pointing at players, people are looking at each other, people are blaming each other, and it's easy to get separated as a team. I think the Raiders had that problem last year. As they start losing, you start pointing fingers, and everybody knows when you're losing, somebody's going to get the axe. Somebody's going, the coach, the players, everybody's looking over their shoulder of what's going to happen next.
Can I tell you, I think in some ways that Pete Carroll is that guy. Like, he's the guy we're talking about. Like, when things are going well, the yuck rah rah stuff works, but when it doesn't, then people are like, okay, this coach doesn't appear. And he's a great coach. He's a great all-time coach, but he's got to win to be rah-rah guy. Marty Cordova's with us. What I'm building towards here, because I think there are probably people listening who are like, why are these guys going on and on about someone being really nice in the locker room or the clubhouse and maybe not being able to survive? like for our male listeners, and we have all different sorts of listeners. I know I have listeners who have groups of guys they hang out with now or did, and it's chop busting. I mean, I'm not hanging around your group with Dana White, but I will guarantee you that there's a lot of chop busting. And there's almost some testing. And I think athletes do that to each other away from the field, away from the game. There's almost a little testing, you know? Like, hey, if you're going to get bullied, you got to push back. And I know on this show we do it. That's why this show, all of us are like, I don't know about Mendoza. Like, this is going to work. Like, if he's good, it's going to work. Yeah. But if he's not, there is a male environment, and it may not be the most adult thing, but there's a male environment. Like, it's freaking sink or swim.
It is, and we really are pretty brutal to each other. Dana and the group we hang around with, you better have thick skin, because anything that happens is you're going to get made fun of, you're going to get joked with. But to me, that's the way a lot of males bond. It's by doing those things, talking trash. We're not sensitive as women can be at times where they take things the wrong way. I've had the same friends, many of them, for 40 plus years. I've known Dana for 45 years. We're friends through thick and thin. We don't argue. We don't fight. We don't have these. We're all positive, but we joke with each other. And it seems a little bit like the world's gotten a little sensitive about things and politically correct and what you can say and not. And to me, the words don't matter as much as the meaning. You can say any word, whether it's a cuss word or not, and the meaning of it and the way you say it comes across with the inflection. So if you say a word that's maybe some people think is demeaning or whatever, it just matters how you say it. And even joking around about some other words, we grew up saying things that are maybe looked at now as sensitive. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. You call somebody fat. You call somebody dumb. You know, we just said these types of things, and maybe it's looked at as immature. I don't know. Maybe we never grew up, or I'm not sure what to say. But I know you can relate to this. This group of guys together, part of the bonding is talking trash, making fun of each other. It's just what we do.
And then he looked at me. He was like, "You can relate to this, fatty." One of the best things, Marty. One of my it's a crowning achievement of my very small sports accomplishments. We did that old guy Olympics, and I will never forget. We were out there. We're banging some home runs. We didn't hit many. Marty, of course, gets up there with a wood bat, goes lefty, goes yard 5 times. And then we videoed it. We reviewed the video, and Marty, without hesitation, looks at me and he's like, and I did well, as compared to everyone else. He looks at me and he's like, "You have no bat speed." I don't think you said I suck, but you were like, "You suck." I'm like, all right.
I meant it in a nice way, I'm sure.
But I loved it.
Yeah,
you're right. And that is, we're going to take a time out here because we got to talk about, we want to talk about Marty's big project that he's got going on with Reshape Body Bar. But no, I think to me that's part of the workplace. That is definitely part of sports. You need the straight dope from people sometimes. Hey, you either need to get better because you're not good enough right now. And maybe you're right. Maybe there is too much. They kind of dancing around people instead of just going straight to them and saying, "Hey, this ain't working. You're not getting the job done. You're not good enough. You need to get better. I'm going to stop lecturing." We'll take a time out. We'll come back. We'll talk about Marty's Wellness Center as Marty Cordova, the 1995 AL Rookie of the Year, is in studio, and he is one of the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Famers.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Former Major Leaguer Marty Cordova is with us. We got a lot to talk about with the A's Major League Baseball in about 15 minutes. Back to VGK and Nick Spurs in the 4 o'clock hour. And the Brendan Sorsby thing is my favorite story ever. I'm a raging lunatic about this. Cincinnati turned Texas Tech quarterback who has a gambling addiction, and he says that he's got mental health issues and anxiety issues. And I love threats of lawsuits, and that's why we have attorneys on the show, because I completely embrace that talk, because I'm like, let's go. Let's sue the hell out of each other, and let's see how this works out. There's a lot of threats being thrown around right now, so after 4 o'clock, we'll get to those. So every once in a while, we need to dial it down, and as we get older, we're trying to get healthier and take care of bumps and bruises, and also get over things. You live life, you go through things, and Marty Cordova's in studio with us. So you told me about a wellness center that you have opening up. It's over at Gramercy, which is on the west side of town, roughly Russell and
215 in Russell, yeah. Exactly. Right across from Pinche's Tacos in a building called the Ellison. It's that 6-story building with palm trees and the huge TV and the pool on top of it.
Where did the idea come from?
Well, the idea came from, and I'm always an open, honest person, and I don't mind being telling the truth. Is about 6 years ago, I decided I just didn't want to drink anymore. I'd been drinking a little too much and was kind of just going through life, missing out on a lot of things and just, being dumb. And I didn't get in any trouble or do anything, but I was like, it's time to make a change. It just wasn't good for me anymore. So I decided I was going to stop drinking, completely change my life. And a big part of that was I started doing cold plunging, infrared sauna, breath work, and meditation every day. And it's hard to explain what that does to you unless you do it. You're putting yourself into an induced stress level willingly, and then you're suffering for those 3 to 5 minutes. And then when you're out, the endorphins and dopamine that's released lasts hours. And it's just like when you go to the gym when you don't want to, and then you do. When you leave, you're like, wow, I'm so glad I went. So going through these struggles, I'd always wanted to give back. And when I retired from baseball, I had a media company, and I sold my interest in that. And I said, I want to do something to help people that are going through struggles of life. Being an athlete's great and all that, but there's a lot of mental struggles in life, and there's a lot of physical struggles in life as well. And I was like, how can I do something to get back to the community and do something I'm passionate about? So then I decided to partner with a couple people, Max Crosby being one of those. He went through similar addictions with alcohol, and a lot of these modalities are what he did to make himself better. And he's a very regimented person. He does these things every day. It's part of his recovery, part of his training for football as well. And then there's a girl named Jackie Stryker, who I've known for 20 years here in town, and we do a manual lymphatic flush to detox your lymphatic system. And she's been doing it for 5-6 years now, and she's the best in town at it. 100% trust and believe in that she's the expert in this space. And then a couple other people, Brent Bone is a friend of mine who has a bunch of McDonald's in town here too, and then a couple other guys that, just don't need to mention their name. But so what we are is we're a wellness and recovery center, and we're focused on your body, your mind, and your attitude. So people that are having, most of all of your diseases and, soreness comes from inflammation. And when you are able to get in the cold plunge, it reduces that inflammation, and that's the start to preventing disease and recovering. So what we do is we've created a system called CORE. It's CCORR. And what this system is it takes these, if you come in and you say, okay, the first one, circulation, what can I do to increase circulation? You're going to do contrast therapy, cold plunge, infrared sauna, red light therapy, and then these shake plates that vibrate you and move your lymphatic system. That is what you do to increase your circulation system. And then to cleanse is where you'll do the lymphatic flush. We also do IV therapy and infrared sauna. Oxygenate, we have a hyperbaric oxygen chamber and breath work classes we do. Recovery, you're going to do red light therapy, IV therapy, hyperbaric chamber, and cold plunge as well. And then for relaxation, we have a float pod, we have an in-harmony sound bed, and an infrared sauna, and then also breath work. So this is the modalities we put together to where somebody can come here that has any kind of issue with stress, sports injuries, whatever it may be, and they don't have to go to 5 different places. They can come to one place. And we offer memberships that are very affordable for people. We are trying not to make this where it's very expensive. We want to make it affordable for everybody to come and experience how to get better with your body, mind, and your attitude.
It's called Reshape Body Bar. That's the voice of Marty Cordova, former Major League Baseball player, our buddy who went to Bishop Gorman as a Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Famer. This show is very jealous of people, so we get petty. Like yesterday we were talking about the celebs at MSG. And as an example, we were like, my God, Ben Stiller looks like ridiculous. He's like all yoked up. And I'm not saying this is only for celebrities. How much of what these advances are and all the stuff you mentioned, how much of that is kind of stopping the aging process? Like, is it a way for all of us? Like, hey, I don't want to look like I'm old and beat to hell.
Yeah.
So like, what things can I do?
I think people are realizing all these things work, but they work in conjunction with each other. You're going to do your hyperbaric chamber, lengthens your telomeres. So if you can do hyperbaric chamber a couple of days a week, you're going to do the cold plunge, infrared sauna. You're going to also do the things that help you mentally. It also helps you then want to eat better. It makes you want to work out more. It makes you change your lifestyle because there's no magic pill here. And we also do IV therapies, and we're going to do peptides shortly. And so when you're combining healthy eating, hydration, peptides, hyperbaric chambers, cold plunge, infrared sauna, float tank, lymphatic detox, all of these things really combine to make you're not going to age the same. Being honest, look, I'm 57 years old. A 57-year-old when we were young looked like somebody's grandpa.
Looked like me.
Yeah, you look good. You look fine.
No, but you're right. I often think of how I feel at I'm 56. I don't feel bad. If I shave this gray beard, maybe I look a little younger. But I mean, I remember, my parents are in their 80s and they're still doing pretty well. Like my grandparents, I'm like, God, they were freaking 72 and they were like old.
Yeah, you look like Carol O'Connor from All in the Family when he was Archie Bunker. He was like 45.
Wilford Brimley was like, in Cocoon was like 52, and they're like, he's playing an 81-year-old. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be that way now.
No, things have changed now, and I think people are realizing too now maybe a little less alcohol, a little more working out, a little more wellness, a little bit more. You can abuse your body and you pay the price later. And that's what I tell like young people now is get ahead of this. Take care of yourself now. Don't wait till you start feeling it in your 30s or 40s and things start going haywire, because then you're really just trying to hang on and fix things that are wrong. But you can prolong your health if you start young. It's going to, as we progress too with science and with technology and with stem cells and all the other things that are coming, people are going to be 50 are going to look 30. And everybody says that the 50 is the new 30 or whatever that they say, and It's true. People are living longer, healthier lives too. And again, if I'm going to live to be 90 years old, whatever the age may be, I don't want to have the last 40 years where I'm suffering and I'm struggling to get out of bed and having no fun. So to me, I'd rather have a quality of life to where I live into my 70s and I'm active. My dad's 87; he's still playing golf. So it's nice. That's the kind of the life I want to have, is to be able to continue to do things at an older age.
So it's Reshape Body Bar. It's a wellness center. It's over on the west side. On the way back, we're going to talk about the open house and some other ways to get involved. And then we'll get to a couple of points on the world of baseball with the A's in town. Another game on the way tonight, as that'll be Game 3 of the series against the Brewers right here on ESPN Las Vegas, starting up at 5:30.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on. We're going to get to VGK recap of last night's game. Did that to open the show. We'll get to more of that in the middle of the 4 o'clock hour as our buddy, legal insider, former public servant, one of the voices of reason. Thank God we have some of them here on the show, right? Justin Watkins will be in. Marty Cordova, one of our good buddies, Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Famer, former Rookie of the Year in the American League. 9 years in the majors? 10 years in the majors?
Well, I got credited for 10 years, but I played 9 years, yeah.
The Wellness Center, Reshape Body Bar. You can go up to reshapebodybar.com. It's over in Gramercy. It's roughly that Russell 215 area. You're going to have an open house.
Yep.
So what do you got going on for the open house? You got any celebs coming out, and then opportunities for like the normies like me to go out there?
Yeah, it's our grand opening, we're calling it, and it's on the 19th and 20th of June. We're at the Gramercy, like you said. We're going to have DJ out there, some giveaways. People are going to be able to try cold plunges if they'd like to. We just want to get as many people out there and get them exposed to what we're doing and to understand the benefits of cold plunge and these other modalities as possible. So if anybody's driving or interested, it's at Reshape Body Bar on Instagram. And then when you click on the bio there, it'll show you links to where you can sign up to come to the grand opening on Friday or Saturday. It's from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Next week, right?
That's coming up next week.
19th and 20th. Okay.
Yep, 19th and 20th. Did I say something wrong?
No.
Okay.
You said Friday and Saturday, but I don't know if we
the
cleared
19th and 20th.
Yeah, 19th and 20th. So next week.
Yeah, next week. And Dana White and Max Crosby will be coming out too. So excited that these guys are taking the time to support the cause. Dana's going to be probably putting it on his social a little bit too. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. He didn't say he was going to do that. I'm speaking.
I didn't promise anything. He doesn't have anything.
He didn't promise anything,
right
but he's got to do it.
He's not busy.
Yeah, no, he's slammed, and that's another thing too. Again, just one more time, it's at Reshape Body Bar on Instagram. We'd love for all of you guys to come out and participate and see what we got going on. Hopefully, we can sign you guys up and get you excited about getting healthy.
And it'll be good to meet Marty. If you've never met Marty before, we know quite a few professional athletes and down-to-earth professional athletes. He's about as down-to-earth as it gets. So there's nothing intimidating about him. And this is a really cool project you got going on. And Max Crosby's part of it. So really excited for you. ReshapeBodyBar.com. And as he said, up on Instagram at Reshape Body Bar. So Major League Baseball is in town. I was out at the game last night. And, boy, LV Ballpark for Major League players –
yeah.
Boy, oh boy, to right field. If the wind's blowing out a little bit,
yeah,
man. And what's happening on social media? Because 7-5 and 15-14 the first two games, and 20-plus home runs. Now people are like, "This is going to be mini cores out here. They better have this field on the strip, but have really deep dimensions." Now, what I read was 340 down the lines and like 415 to center.
And what in the gaps? Like
I don't
385.
know. I think it's got to be deep.
Like yeah. There's a couple factors that I'd like to say about that, the dimensions. But one thing that was the biggest difference for me from AAA to the major leagues that I noticed immediately was how hard the balls were hit compared to in AAA. Consistently hit hard. So when you're consistently hitting the ball hard and you just get a little lift under it, there were so many times, myself included, I'd hit balls and I'm like, oh, just missed it. And it would be 5 feet from the fence. I mean, 30, 40 times a season, maybe more. So if you now play in a park where the wind's blowing out or the ball carries like in Coors Field, even if 10 of those are home runs, what that does to your stats and to the game is insane. It's insane. To go from 20 homers a season to 30 or to 40, and to those aren't outs now, to add 20 hits and not take away 20 at bats. Or to add 20 at bats, just 20 more hits. It's crazy. Your numbers go up probably 15, 20 points, or maybe 10 points in your batting average at least. RBIs, you're going to get another 30, 40 RBIs, and another 10 to 15 home runs is just, and what it does for your team as well. So talking about the dimensions here, I'm not sure what direction the fences and the batting, the home plate and the outfield is going to align, but if it aligns the same way it is now and the wind is blowing out to right center a lot, that to me matters more than how the altitude. Because the ball really does carry a lot different when the wind's blowing like to right center, or a lot of times right center is even better for righties. You stay on the ball more, you hit opposite field home runs and doubles than being at the high altitude. So that's going to be a big factor is what direction the stadium's sitting, and I'm not sure if you know what that is. If it's going to be the same as the one up in Summerlin.
Well, I also think I don't know that wind's going to be a factor. I'm double checking on this one because it does have a roof, and I don't think it's retractable. And
it looks
I should
like
know
an umbrella that kind of goes up, and I didn't understand why it moved up and down. If it was just like an umbrella, like it didn't enclose the stadium, so it didn't look like it would completely. And you never know. Sometimes those windows that are on the sides create like a jet stream where balls will either carry or not carry. And it can have the opposite effect. Sometimes, like Wrigley, when the wind blew in, you could hit the ball 500 feet and it wouldn't go out. So to me, the wind has a lot to do with it. Of course, the altitude does, but a lot of it has to do with the confidence as a player. When a pitcher's up there and they feel confident, they're different than when they're scared. And same as a hitter, when I'm feeling confident and I'm like, I see the ball very well, I'm not afraid to get 2 strikes. I'm a different hitter than when I'm up there nervous, not feeling well, knowing I just hit a ball that was probably a home run, but it got knocked down by the wind. You just feel different. And a good example of that was David Ortiz was my teammate in Minnesota. And Minnesota was very deep, 399 to the left center power alley. And he hit a lot of balls left center. A lot of times he'd hit a ball and he'd be like jogging and was out. And now he goes to Boston and he's left center. Those are off the wall all day or home runs.
Yeah.
And it changed him completely. The confidence level he had that he could get jammed even and hit a ball off the wall because he was a natural opposite guy. He hit the ball that way. So to me, it really matters where the wind's blowing and how the ball carries to opposite field for a right-handed hitter.
So this stadium is gonna have a fixed climate-controlled roof, so it's not gonna open. So they're inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're inside. So I mean, I can tell you which way the field is gonna have an opening. That's gonna look out towards New York, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be wind.
Okay.
So it's gonna be indoors, and it's gonna be deeper than LVB. So that's one of the things when people are talking about being a homer haven. The elevation, I don't think, is going to do enough to make it into a homer-friendly park.
No, it won't. I didn't know that. The renderings I saw, it looked like it was an umbrella, and it came up, and it wasn't.
I think the
enclosed.
original plans they were talking about a retractable roof, but because they have such a small plot of land, I think Milwaukee had the smallest plot of land, and that they built a retractable roof on, and I forget that it was like 26 acres or something, and the stadium property on the strip is smaller than that. So and the cost.
This can never be open.
Like another $1 billion.
Yeah, so this one will never be open. Okay, I thought it was going to be always open. It wasn't retractable.
Yeah. Which also would be kind of counterproductive when it's
200 degrees.
It's one thing to play, 200 degrees. It's one thing to play here at AAA, where it's hot as Hades, but they're not going to Major League Baseball. I don't think the Players Association would ever approve that. Man, we got so much to get to with baseball. I really want you in again, and good luck with this. Again, pop the name of the place and then the open house.
Sure, it's Reshape Body Bar. You can look us up on Instagram at Reshape Body Bar. We're on Russell and 215. It's in the Elliston apartments, 6-story apartments with the palm trees on top. So any of you guys, we're about to put a banner on there. It'll be on there this Friday. It'll say reshapebodybar.com, right where it says theellison.com. So look out for us there.
And no UFC White House. You're a part of the Dana White entourage. You guys hang out all the time. That shows how exclusive this event is. If Marty Cordova is not being brought along.
It was there's a few guys, Skip Kelp, myself, and then another kid named Raz, and then Dana's bodyguard and Elliot. We're always together. We go out most every night, and it was just talked about that this was just too many people were requesting tickets, and there's only like 2,300 seats on the around the ring, and it was just like, it'd be better if we just didn't put any more pressure on them than needs to be. So we all said, let's just miss this one. We see too many of them.
ReshapeBodyBar.com. Check it out. Thanks, Marty.
Thanks.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, back to the Golden Knights in about 15 minutes. Just got done talking to Marty Cordova. We've got Reshape Body Bar Wellness Center. Might be a place you're interested in.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It's like whatever he's putting together, I'm in on, dude. Holy crap!
Just skedaddle. Maybe you want to go talk to him.
Yeah. He is ripped, dude.
We'll hook you up. Well, he's a former Major League Baseball player. Yeah. It works, man. You work too.
Local kid, right?
Yeah, Gorman, born here, just like you.
Yeah. You know, when I mean, I think he's just a couple years older than I am.
He's a lot older. Marty's old. Marty's older than me.
But
Marty's
I remember when I was a kid, we only had a couple things to point to Vegas. We had Agassi, we had Maddox, and kids knew the name Marty Cordova.
He was a 95 AL Rookie of the Year. That never goes away.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So it was very cool. It was actually cool to meet him, if we weren't, exchanging seats right here.
The changeover is very quick on Cofield and Company.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're on in Reno, ESPN Las Vegas. Justin Watkins in studio. This hour every day is brought to you by Battleborn Injury Lawyer. 766-1400 is the call from anywhere in the state of Nevada number. I am bouncing off the walls. Maybe it was a bad thing. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate your support for the show and the station. But we talk way too much legal stuff. And I went on a rant the other day about Sorsby. And it was just like, and I've always been pro-labor. Yeah. And I went on a rant, and it's just like, I can't control myself. I'm so angry at the foolishness. And you're going to have to tell me where I'm wrong here. But this thing has exploded now. Let's first of all, Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback at Texas Tech, comes from Cincinnati. He has a gambling addiction. The NCAA bans him. So he takes it to court in Texas. What did this judge actually say in terms of harmful damages, and why was he given an injunction to play?
Okay, so the people who are in the social media world who are saying the judge bought this argument or that, or the judge is saying this or that, is mostly misplaced because the judge didn't give any reasoning. There's basically two things we know the judge thinks because the injunction was granted. And that is, one, the judge thinks that Sorsby would be likely to succeed on the merits of their case. And two, that if the injunction was not in place, that Sorsby would be irreparably harmed. Irreparable harm means money can't make it better. So they can't just pay money damages and all's forgotten, because the damages is so unique in this situation. Last year of eligibility, playing college football, that's my damage. You take that away from me, I never get it back, and we have no way of calculating monetarily what that means. So that's all the judges said. Think Sorsby is likely to win on the merits, and that if the injunction is not granted, that he would be irreparably harmed. Now, my personal belief, I think the judge got it wrong. I do. I don't think that Sorsby was likely to succeed on the merits here, because the rule in place is a pro-competitive rule. Again, we are on a challenge on antitrust, and the idea that you are regulating the behavior of the employees or the workforce without collective bargaining agreement can be done, but it can't be anti-competitive. You can't suppress wages. You can't create all these arbitrary rules in order to have the upper hand on the labor force the entire time. The gambling goes directly to, and especially on the teams he was on, goes directly towards the veracity of the game in the eyes of the public. So I actually think the judge got it wrong. Now, I suspect, because the ruling requires 2 weeks of sitting out before he can play, I suspect what the judge is saying here is that the punishment, while this behavior deserves punishment and the rules should be in place, that the NCAA's application of the punishment is all over the map and has no precedent. And so it's too severe, it's arbitrary, it's capricious, and because there is no collective bargaining process, it is up for the courts to step in when these punishments are unfair. So I suspect that's what the judge is saying. And in that vein, I can sort of work my way along and find some agreement.
Justin Watkins in here. We're talking Brendan Sorsby, who is now apparently blown up the world of college football. Everything's ruined. There's no rules. The pearl clutching is amazing here. But you agree, or you disagree, with Ken Curry's judgment here. But I'm going to read you the follow-up here, because this is where I really get offended and worked up. Report, Big 12 athletic directors had a spirited call with Commissioner Brett Yormark, making it clear that they are united around the notion that Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby should not be eligible for next season. What can the Big 12 do? What can the other schools do?
I think they can do very little because there is a contract in place. I think if the Big 12 was going to step in and punish Sorsby, they should have done it before the lawsuit, because the antitrust only applies to the NCAA stuff. That all of the court rulings have basically said schools and conferences can do their own thing. They can punish and do what they're going to do. But now that the injunction's in place to try to punish Tech as a result of complying with the injunction, I think that they would run it afoul with a whole bunch of problems. But outside of the legalese of it, let's just get broader on this and go, okay, so one of your members, Cincinnati, knew he was betting at the time, continued to let him play. When he went to the transfer portal, told nobody about it, about the investigation and what they found, let him go to another institution. Tech finds out about it, gets self-reports, gets him help right away, gets him to admit under oath in an affidavit exactly the bets he made, exactly where he did it, and presents it all to the NCAA. From my perspective, Tech is the one wearing the white hat here. Cincinnati is the one wearing the black hat. And to the extent that the Big 12 is turning their focus onto Tech instead of turning their focus onto Cincinnati, it's all misplaced. It's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's all performative. And what I suspect is really happening with this outrage and this whole, the world against Tech right now is more political than it is practical. They're trying to push through legislation in D.C., and they're using the Sorsby's decision as the basis to say, look, there are no rules anymore. There's nothing. Congress has to step in. That's what they're using this case for now.
Reports that Big 12 schools, led by some of their council advice, we're not playing Texas Tech. We're not going to play you. And the response is Texas Tech will consider legal action if any athletic programs and conferences try to exclude them from competition. And by the way, this Cody Campbell can be quite the figure in this whole thing. He's the billionaire who backs Texas Tech. And what the vibe I get, and I'm not saying he's the same guy, but when the NFL started even screwing with Stan Kroenke a little bit, guess what Stan Kroenke got? L.A.
Yep.
So go ahead and try it, Big 12. Try it. We're not going to play you. Try it.
Too little, too late. Bottom line, I think there was a window of opportunity for the Big 12 to step in and issue punishment on their own. Both, if you were going to do that, they should have punished Cincinnati and they should have punished Sorsby based on their own findings and said, we don't need the NCAA here. We are not going to allow this to happen in our own conference. And then if Sorsby wanted to go outside the conference and transfer to somewhere else, it's up to that conference to deal with that problem. But they didn't. And they let the NCAA come up with the punishment, and they let the NCAA get legally challenged. Now, if a team says, we're not going to play and we forfeit, they could do that, but they're still going to need to honor the contract. They're going to still need to pay Tech, and Tech's going to get the W. on the books. I mean, it's going to be a situation, I put akin to San Jose State women's volleyball playing the transgendered woman on their team, and many teams choosing to forfeit. None of those teams were punished. They all got the loss on their record, but you can't force, a team to play that doesn't want to play. I suspect, though, the players want to play Tech. They don't want to not play. It's a totally different situation than the San Jose State women's volleyball team.
The threats are so childish.
Totally. It's like they've learned nothing.
Yep. And that's the whole thing. And part of my rant the other day, and I understand what you're saying, that you don't agree with this judgment. These things happen when there are no real rules, and the rules are not negotiated with in any connection to the talent and the performers.
Well,
you open the door for this sort of thing where they can go and challenge everything, because I don't think rules mean anything.
Yeah, well, and save me the moral outrage, okay? You just had Ohio State agree to $100 million in settlements for sexual assault allegations that happened within their athletic program. For the last decade, did anybody say we're not playing Ohio State until they make right by these victims? Michigan State paid more than $100 million for Nassau for all that happened with the gymnastics team, all that happened with their athletic department, right? Did anybody say we're not playing Michigan State until they do the right thing and protect these kids? No. But now that a kid admits to betting, I think, $81 for Cincinnati to win when he was on the Cincinnati roster, that's the end of college sports?
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
Justin, I went nuts yesterday on the Big Ten. You mentioned they've had so many doctor scandals with sexual misconduct and sexual assault. There was Dr. Strauss at Ohio State, Dr. Anderson at Michigan, Nasser at Michigan State. Let's roll in the Penn State community, bonding together to fight for Joe Paterno, who was completely out of control with the Sandusky thing. And the outrage there was never to the point where, like, hey, we got to send a message. We're not going to play them. That never happened. By the way, one of the first schools to step up was Nebraska with threats. Ashley Scoggins,
Yep.
Chuck Love, Trev Alberts. Oh, now we're outraged? Come on. I mean, this is so ridiculous. And you're right. They're doing this because they think we're stupid, and they're doing it because they know that politicians are, one, stupid, and two, all about performative action.
Well,
Sorry,
I'm
man.
not going to
It's
agree
not
with you
all
on that part.
politicians.
No.
But there are a lot of public servants who will not do the research and won't see the hypocrisy and the ridiculousness of this. And I don't want to play like whataboutism on all this stuff. But you're right. It's all Sorsby. The case is being done or being used as a means to get to somewhere that they effed up.
Yep.
And I'm still outraged, but that we could have government involvement in this.
Yep. So I would want to ask any of the institutions out there, like, what would you have done differently if you're with Sorsby, right? He transfers over. You know nothing about any of this. You know nothing other than he wants to transfer to your school. He's a good quarterback. You want him to play for your team. And then all of a sudden, you become aware that Cincinnati was doing an investigation into betting, knew that he bet, let him play, let him transfer, told nobody about it. So you bring it to light. You say, hey, kid, you need to go get some help. Let's get you some help. We got to report this to the NCAA. Let's report this to the NCAA. But, like, I love Longshore's post on social media. But we brought you in. We're part of a family here. And our goal is now, this is a little tongue-in-cheek, to develop young men, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to try to help you develop and grow as an individual. And so we're going to do all the right things. Like, again, what more did you want Texas Tech to do? You want them to just dismiss the kid, be out $5 million, because he's probably going to sue you for it, right? Be out the $5 million, let Cincinnati off the hook, not try to improve this kid's life in any way, not get him any help if he truly is a gambling addict. I don't know. Betting $50 and $80 probably is not on the line of being an addict, but I don't know. I don't know anything about gambling addiction. So I think Texas Tech's wearing the white hat here and getting characterized as the black hat, and it's for political expediency of the bill in D.C.
Last couple things on Sorsby on the way back, because I know this is a lot. You mentioned Longshore. That's Nate Longshore, who was the tight ends coach for UNLV. I thought he wrote a really good tweet today, so I'll read that on the way back. And then something our Attorney General could do in the future. Oh, I want to see them do this.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Boy, college football is becoming a year-round sport, just like the NFL, but a lot of it's because of NIL and transfer portal and legal stuff and the fights. And Brendan Sorsby really in the news because he is now eligible to play, according to a judge in Texas. And people are just fired up all around college football, threatening Texas Tech. Like, they should do the right thing when around the sport, most admins, they don't do the right thing. But they want Texas Tech to step out of line here and do the right thing. It's weird. Nate Longshore, who was a coach with UNLV, tight ends coach through a couple of different staffs, and also was a quarterback at Cal back in the day. He wrote this. It was a long tweet. It's up at Steve Cofield. I retweeted it earlier. But he said, of Sorsby in general, when a player becomes part of your program, he becomes part of your football family. That does not mean you excuse everything. It does not mean that accountability disappears, but it means you do not abandon him the second the situation becomes difficult, public, or uncomfortable. There's a difference between defending the person and defending the mistake. And he said if Texas Tech turns their back on, or its back on him now, he goes, as a coach, I would absolutely use that against Texas Tech in the future. Yeah, in recruiting.
I mean, again, I think that they can really couch this and frame this argument as they're the only good guys in here. They're the only honest ones out here. Like, everybody's afraid of them in this new world where everything's equal, right? And all of a sudden they can outspend everybody. And so they're becoming the target of all these programs that have been doing nefarious stuff for decades.
Doesn't history repeat itself? I feel like Vegas was in this position at one time. Like, Tark was a hero when you look back on it. And Tark achieved at a level that UNLV was not supposed to be at and hadn't been at. And Kentucky and UCLA, especially UCLA and Arizona, they looked at her like, oh, you got to get them. Like, why?
Yeah. Why? Exactly. No, the parallels are there for sure, except the difference is like, NCAA has no power anymore to, put the death penalty on Tech and make sure that UT and Oklahoma maintain all the power in the region like they did against UNLV, so Arizona and UCLA could continue to thrive.
Now, this is the one I want. And again, there's tweets going out. You have sources, and every counsel and attorney around different schools. They want to get their little thread out, their message out there. Nothing against your field.
You got me twice today.
Someone asked Someone said, what is to stop the state attorneys generals of Oklahoma, Colorado, Georgia, California, Arizona, Louisiana, Florida, Nevada? Might have to vote on this one. This could be my top issue. From filing to prevent Sorsby from competing in their state. Could we get a competing state court ruling? And the person says, somewhat complicated. Is it?
Yeah. It's like, first off, state attorneys general. Okay, so
that's the way it was written.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I'm just correcting them there.
Yeah.
So
no, that's the way it was written. I misread it. State attorneys general.
Okay, attorneys general.
Oklahoma, Colorado, California, or I said California twice. Georgia, Arizona, Louisiana, Florida, Nevada.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I mean, the state has obligations under contract through their institutions to play these teams. Opening the door for allowing a state to have jurisdiction over a quarterback in a different state for the limited purposes of a one-time game and declaring him ineligible, I think is it's impossible to say that the courts won't overreach in that way right now because they are creating the rules for college athletics right now, but I think you have a ton of jurisdictional problems there. I think you have a ton of full faith and credit with other states' rulings. There's already a state ruling in existence right now that says that there's a temporary restraining order. And when that happens, the full faith and credit clause of the United States Constitution says, an order in one state will be honored in all the other states as well, outside of some very specific exceptions. So very, 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 very unlikely that anybody would even try, even less of a chance that they would actually be successful.
Justin Watkins, legal insider here on Cofield and Company. We'll get to VGK here in a couple of minutes.
Dumb politician, sneaky lawyer.
Q. I didn't say that.
You said,
I
think that's a quote.
I thought you're a good public servant and a fine attorney and a voice of reason. Quinnipiac is involved. This is another layer to this whole NIL thing. What's going on here with, what was it, female rugby?
Yeah.
And
So,
Title IX.
Oh, my gosh. I find this story fascinating. So Quinnipiac downgraded their women's rugby team from a varsity sport to a club sport. And the players, number one, their coach had been there for years, was very pro-athlete, pro-Title IX, was very vocal about it, both against her own school and other schools. She was, I'll say her contract wasn't renewed, and as soon as that contract ended, they downgraded the sport, and the players have sued. And Quinnipiac's position is, for compliance purposes with the House settlement, we've had to restructure revenue, blah, 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 blah. Number one, House settlement only applies to power programs, right? Like, that's the start of this, is like you voluntarily opt in or opt out of House settlement guidelines if you're not one of the power conferences. So you voluntarily put yourself in this position. Number two, the players have challenged us on Title IX grounds and said that you've downgraded us and elevated other men's sports in conjunction with this move. So you were out of bounds with Title IX. Remember, there is a Title IX challenge to the House settlement that is in the court system right now, and I think will be successful. I think the whole House settlement is going to be gone. If it's not codified, it's going to be gone as we understand it, because it is clearly in violation of Title IX. So you're going to try to have these institutions mess around and go, hey, this House settlement thing, it gives us an opportunity to like step aside on the Title IX. Let's give it a go. Let's try women's rugby, right? They throw it out there. And I don't think it's unique that they picked women's rugby because, number one, it's classified as an emerging sport in the NCAA, so it counts for credits for Title IX, but it is not an NCAA championship sport. And so the only precedent that exists, funny enough, from 17 years ago, the players on the women's volleyball team sued Quinnipiac on Title IX grounds and won. The basis was they tried to substitute out volleyball for competitive cheer for budgetary purposes, but competitive cheer did not have an NCAA championship and volleyball did. And they won, saying not an even exchange. Now here, rugby does not have a NCAA championship, so Quinnipiac's going to be pointing to this 20-year-old ruling and go, no, we never had credit for this anyway. But the fact that it's an emerging sport, the fact that, the other allegation is these players are saying this was 100% retaliatory against our coach. So we've got workforce issues, we've got House settlement issues, we got supremacy clause issues, we got Title IX issues. I love it. I love all the layers to that one. Yeah, that one's going to be fun to follow.
Look at Justin getting worked up. He's not getting Cofield worked up like I do with Sorsby, but he's getting worked up. All right, did you go to the game last night, the VGK game? I noticed you've got your VGK member exclusive hat on. Is that brand new?
No, it was in the gift box for all season ticket holders this year.
I was like, you're keeping that pretty pristine.
It matches my shorts.
It's good. It's good. I'm not ripping it. It's like it's real clean. Okay, give me your impressions of the last night's game.
I thought that was by far the best that Carolina has played, and by far the worst that VGK has played, and we still could have won the game. I'm confident in the series. I think VGK in 6. I think they're winning the next 2 games. They're going to get the cup on home ice.
Wow.
I've been on VGK in 6 since the beginning of this whole thing. I do think they're the better team. We come back. We fight back to a 3-3 tie. The first 10 minutes of overtime, we were the better team. We had all these chances. They didn't go in, right? We have one bad turnover in our end. That goes in. And then the empty net goal wasn't even trying to be. It was just a clear.
Is that one of the craziest empty netters you've ever seen?
Bounced off the boards, and you could see it all happening in slow motion in the arena. I'm like, that's going to go in. It's like he's bouncing and going. So, like, I'm not worried. There's 2 areas of concern I have about VGK's game right now. The penalty kill is on a real bad run. That is single-handedly the reason that they almost lost Game 3 and that they did lose Game 4. And we need Jack Eichel to be Jack Eichel right now, and he is getting killed and suppressed by Jordan Staal. He's getting absolutely worked in the faceoff circle. Every part of the penalty kills, I think, problems right now is every single time they start a penalty kill, they lose the draw and they're already hemmed in. They do not win the draw and get the clear and burn off the first 30 seconds and force Carolina to try to enter the zone and block them at the zone. So it's just, I think from that perspective, made it a little bit too easy on them. Obviously, Jordan Staal has the reputation as being a shutdown center. That's what his job is to do. He's doing it effectively against Eichel right now. And Torts is, trying to bring an answer. He brought up Stone to the first line, and for most of that third period, I don't know if many people noticed, but he was double shifting Marner. So Marner was playing on the first line in place of Barbashev and then playing his normal spot on the second line. And so he's out there for 3 or 4 minutes at a time, double shifting. So I still feel like we played better than them for the majority of the first 3 games. We did not play better than them for the majority of game 4, but we still could have won that game. I think we're gonna win the series in 6.
30 seconds left here. VGK plus 125 to win the series.
I like the plus number, yeah. Yeah. Pick it in 6. Be specific.
You think the Canes are feeling real good about the goalie situation?
No, why? I mean, why would you feel good? I mean, you gave up 3 goals and 17 shots. No, the save percentage was no better. Now, that's the other thing that I like about this series is defensively we're very similar. We're shutdown teams, although there's been tons of scoring in this, but we had the better finishers. I mean, that Brett Howden goal was unbelievable. We've had some really good high-skill goals, and I think that will continue.
Justin Watkins in studio with us for a couple more minutes. 766-1400 is the call from anywhere in the state of Nevada. Number 4, Battle-Born Injury Lawyers.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Rolling towards 5:30 as we've got the NBA Finals game number 4. Over on Raider Nation Radio 920, we'll have a lot more on the game, though, with Arash Markazi and Myles Simmons, and more about how big, bad New York, now they're all afraid of the dirty 210-pound Wembanyama. I'm blown away by the wimpiness here, and a lot of it is the Flames being fanned by those of us in the media. A couple of stories to finish up on. Boy, the World Cup is going to be a very interesting event to watch, because it always is. Following the U.S. team can be maddening, but that'll be interesting. But the way the event goes down is going to be crazy. I just think there's going to be so much pushback and so much bad reaction. So what are you seeing on the World Cup?
Well, I saw some funny tweets today about the different national origins being exposed to different parts of cultural world in the United States, talking about the Turkish team is can't believe what this ranch sauce is that's all over, and the English are just out there burning in the sun because they have a big. So I thought that was funny, but I as this buildup was happening, I'm like, man, it sucks that the World Cup's not in Vegas. How did we?
Does it?
How do we not get a World Cup game at Allegiant? How did our elected, well, not non-elected, people decide that we weren't going to put in that bid? And then Sportico did a great article. They didn't talk about Vegas, but they talked about Chicago and Minnesota, and sort of the feeling out process between these different cities and the World Cup. And
by the way, Montreal.
And Montreal,
there isn't
as
a
well.
more international city that should have a FIFA there with the World Cup.
And the ask and the audacity from FIFA to these sites and what they were demanding of them, both from a financial and an infrastructure standpoint, I'm super glad that we didn't put our hat into the ring there. We don't need the World Cup. We got Super Bowls, we got national championship games, we got Frozen Four, we got Final Four, we've got all the best fights. We're gonna, in 2 years, we're gonna have all the major sports. We got F1, we got NASCAR. FIFA and the money grab that has been this North American World Cup, advise everybody to read that article. It's just sort of gross what they were trying to get all these cities to do. And I think, thankfully, you had a couple cities there going, wait a minute, man. You want us to pay you hundreds of millions of dollars for you to use our infrastructure? And Minnesota specifically was like, we just had the Super Bowl. I'm not going back to these corporate sponsors. They're our community partners. I'm not going back to them and asking for $20 million here or $40 million here. And, when they started to do the feeling out process, they went to a couple of trusted corporate sponsors, and they said, you got to show me the public support and that it's good for our community for us to have it. And, so they sort of surveyed the greater Minnesota area, and they were like, no, we don't want that. Like, this is what the headache is? No, we don't want it here. And so I thought that's great. I like the way that they approached that. I wish that happened, in more cities, including our own, where they actually reached out to the locals and say, what do you like, rather than reaching out to the resorts and saying, what do you want?
That would be good in general here.
Yes,
right?
I
the
agree.
LVCVA
Yes.
should be more open and asking us, but they made the right decision.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because I don't think it would have been a good thing here. I don't think it would have been a good thing.
I think it would have gone bonkers here.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I'm seeing a lot of complaints already with the tickets. Like, FIFA apparently held back a lot of the tickets, and now they just flooded the market with them with extra charges. Like, what are we doing?
Dude, FIFA. Yeah. Man, you think there's some, cronies in the NCAA. What they're doing.
FIFA, NCAA.
I know.
FIFA might take the cake.
I think FIFA's got it. They don't care about expanding the game in North America at all. This was 100% a money grab.
No Raleigh for you. Not even for a Game 7?
Oh, if there's a Game 7.
Go.
Yeah. No. If there's a Game 7, I got to go. My kids' volleyball schedule prevented me from going. I had a couple of friends go for Game 2. And I wanted to go, but couldn't make it happen.
All right, Justin, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You're the best. All compliments. You're a fine public servant, or you were. Ernie. Oh, man, I get myself in hot water getting all worked up.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling towards big night in sports. A's in town against the Brewers, and NBA final game number 4. We'll have a breakdown of both in the 5 o'clock hour. Also chatted up with Myles Simmons from Pro Football Talk. And Arash Markazi, who's up in a minute here. Arash from the Sporting Tribune. Let's do another giveaway. We got Major League Baseball in town. Rocky Series against the A's. A's at LV Ballpark. We got a pair of tickets right now going out for the Sunday game. 364-1100, caller 7. Sunday game, 364-1100, caller 7. James going to hook you up with A's and Rockies tickets. And so far the A's are 1-1. Last night was a 7-5 win with a really good bullpen work. So Arash is on the horn. Arash, we again are in this incredible time with Las Vegas where if people weren't processing yesterday, we had a Stanley Cup final, Major League Sports on the ground here in town, going head-to-head against Major League Baseball in Summerlin. This really is incredible what Vegas is going through.
It really is. Again, I think there's a lot of people who did not realize that there would be Major League Baseball at the same time that we had the Stanley Cup final in town. At least the A's had their moment to shine where it was just them on Monday, and they had a classic game where it was 29 combined runs. It was fantastic. So I was out at that game. But then again, for them to really kind of plant their roots here is fantastic. I think that there's a lot of people checking out the ballpark for the first time and seeing how nice that place is. But again, just like year after year, it's sort of like these firsts in Vegas, and it's really all, pointing towards 2028, where you got Major League Baseball, maybe the NBA, maybe Major League Soccer, but this town continues to grow.
Arash Markazi with us here on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno. All right, we'll get to the baseball, the particulars here inside of 5 minutes, but let's talk about what's been going on at the Fortress. I just wanted to talk about your impression of the atmosphere and everything they do, before the game, outside, inside, and then also the crowd, the noise level.
Listen, this has been happening for 9 years. When we talk about the, how great this team has been during their course of being a franchise, that crowd has always been amazing. That pregame show has always been amazing. They have always really realized that Las Vegas is a town that you can't do it anything lightly. Big pregame show. You got T-Pain out there on the plaza. It is a spectacle, and it was amazing to see that crowd so packed, sold out, of course, but so loud. And again, anytime anyone ever disputes Las Vegas having a passionate fan base and passionate hometown sports fans, I always say go to a Vegas Golden Knights game, but especially now, go to a Vegas Golden Knights playoff game. There's nothing like it in this city. Again, you got the Raiders, you got the Aces. There's a connection with Vegas and this hockey team. And again, they've paid it back. They're 2 wins away from winning the cup once again.
I saw you walking through with some video, Toshiba Plaza, and you pointed out, it's 3:00, it's 100 degrees. People are out there for T-Pain. I don't know how much of T-Pain you got to see. I know this. One thing they are awesome at, the volume in Toshiba Plaza is unbelievable. They boom it. On the siren, right? We saw Mendoza in the first game here, and then T-Pain in the second. I didn't get to see a whole lot of video of T-Pain. Who did a better job? Because Mendoza, I was like, dude, you're going to blow out your shoulder. Relax.
What you saw with Mendoza is he is a professional football player. He's competitive. So I think T-Pain was having some fun with it. Mendoza thought this was like some kind of a competition. So I don't know if they can track the velocity of the noisemaker, but Fernando Mendoza certainly won that competition.
Sporting Tribune at Sporting Trib up on Twitter. They do Sporting Tribune live Sunday through Thursday. They're adding more cast members. We'll talk about some of the cast members here in a couple of minutes. I never really got the big hubbub a couple of years ago about the Larry O'Brien Trophy and the NBA Finals, and they were like beaming in the image of it instead of painting it on the court. Why was that a big deal? And I noticed that you pointed out that you think the Stanley Cup Final ice is kind of lacking.
Listen, when you have a championship event, and I am one of those that actually cares. From the moment that I land into a city, I really do want it to feel like a big event. So you go to the Super Bowl, and it's not that I need a Super Bowl logo on the field to remind me that it's the Super Bowl, but it makes it feel like it's a big event. It makes it feel like, okay, this is not just a regular Sunday in the fall. This is the Super Bowl. So you got the logo on there. You got the logo on the field when it's the World Series. So with the NBA Finals for I don't know how many years they just stopped putting any signage that this was the NBA Finals. The court was the same. And I'm like, listen, obviously it's June. I know it's the finals. It'd be nice if there was a Larry O'Brien trophy like there was back in the day when it was Kobe and the Lakers going up against KG and the Celtics. Same is true with the Stanley Cup Final. No, there's nothing on the Geis in Vegas or you go to Carolina that lets you know this is the Stanley Cup Final. There's no logo of the trophy. And again, you go back to when the Kings won the Cup in 2012 and 2014. They had something on the ice that made it feel like it was a big deal, that this is the final. This is not just a normal game. This is a championship game. So, listen, we pressured the National Basketball Association into making a change. We'll see about hockey.
Back to LVB and the A's being out there. So you got that experience. First of all, they kind of did it up in Vegas style. They had a bunch of luminaries out there. How did Buffer sound as he introduced things? Kind of a warm-up before his UFC Trump 80 card this week.
Exactly. Just so quintessential Las Vegas, and they had the fireworks going off, and who else was there from the Jersey Shore? They had some folks there. So
DJ Paulie D throughout the first pitch. Nick Carter from
Nick Carter. There. So listen, it's Vegas, and again, I know that they're kind of dipping their toes into Vegas. But yes, you got to have Bruce Buffer there. You got to have Wayne Newton there. You got to lead into Vegas when you first come into town. And so, listen, what I loved about it, the fan giveaways were so great. Whenever a new team comes to town, you're wondering, how many people are going to have the shirts and the hats? Well, most of them are going to wear it if you give it to them. So everyone who walked in the door got a Vegas 28 on the back jersey. And then I think on Tuesday they got a hat, and then who knows what they get on Wednesday. But that's how you build a fan base. Give them the free merch, give them cheap tickets. By the way, cheap tickets. If you wanted a standing room ticket, it was about $20. Again, hard to get a good deal with sports.
Arash is with us. I thought the merch was pretty cool too in terms of the hats.
Yeah.
I think they're just simply branding it sort of in the style of one of the Aviators hats with an LV with the green and gold.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big hit. But anything that's Vegas, that looks cool. People here are going to scoop up. Hell, man, going back to the, I have to tell a story about what's been going on this week in terms of all the different options of entertainment. You're in town. We met up for dinner. I want to talk about that in a second. But for that double overtime game, the significant other and I were at a concert over at the Cosmo. Believe it or not, we were watching Christopher Cross, kind of a legend from the late 70s, early 80s, right? From the Arthur movie. And he's doing his big song. He's like 8 songs in. And all of a sudden, like up in our corner, people are like, yeah. And I'm sure he looked up. And he's like, what is going on? I'm on the last verse. That's when they scored the game-winning goal in double overtime. But there's so much of a buzz around here. I got to mention something that's really cool for charity. And I really haven't taken part in it enough over the years. Restaurant week here is really cool. And there are like dozens and dozens of restaurants. And as an example, there are places on the strip that maybe you don't think you can afford, but this week, because of charitable setup, it's actually pretty affordable. Restaurant week is cool, and they give you a ton of food.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the beautiful things about Vegas is the amazing food that you can get and the different places around the country that like open up in Vegas, whether it's like Peter Luger's and things like that. But like to your point, we went to the Sahara and got some Chinese food, not even knowing it was restaurant week. And then it was like, you can get, this starter, this entree, this dessert, this drink for like a pretty affordable price. So again, it's been happening over the past 10, 15, maybe 20 years where like Vegas was kind of known for like the cheap eats, cheap buffets, but the amazing 5-star places that we get here that you might not go because it's like expensive. This is the week. This is the time to try those places out.
NBA Finals Game 4 is up in about 40 minutes here with Arash Markazi from the Sporting Tribune. So let's close on this. First of all, I just wanted to get your impression on this Great Wall of New York City they've built around like 6 blocks by 2 blocks. I think it's awful. We've been rallying on the show. I just think there's like the haves and the have-nots. I think it's just a terrible image. And while it's fun, and I know you report on this because people want the information, it's interesting to see that get-in price is $3,500 or $8,000. There seems to be, for me, I'm a little uncomfortable with like sporting events are getting to the point at the highest level of not being anywhere near affordable for the common folk. And not only are they not affordable, we can't even go near the arena. Now there's a freaking wall there.
Well, the anxiety that I had just looking at those pictures and those videos of those TSA style pre-check lines, 2 hours long. But that's the last place I want to be. If I have a ticket or a credential, obviously I'm going to go, and again, no disrespect if you want to do the watch party thing. But when I lived in New York, and I wasn't there that long, like the last place I'm going to be on New Year's Eve is Times Square. It's just like I'm going to go somewhere that has good TV, good food, good drinks. If I need to use the restroom, I can go use it. I'm not stuck in a massive humanity. But to your point, Steve, yeah, I mean, the fact that the ticket prices for the game tonight dropped at some point, a few days ago, it was like $12,000. So now it's only, quote unquote, what is it, like $3,500. It's still absurd. Like you should be able to get in the door, worst seat in the house, but at least you're in the building for something manageable. But those days are gone, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. It's the sign of the times. But man, I mean, the fact that when we were together talking about it, if the Knicks had won Game 3, Steve, and if they were in position to win the championship tonight, it would have been about $15,000 just to get in the building. It would have been the most expensive ticket in the history of the NBA. I mean, that's more expensive than the cheapest ticket to any Super Bowl.
Sporting Trip Live in the evenings goes Sunday to Thursday. And I wanted to mention, because you're adding new people, one of the guys you added, really good on basketball, former basketball player, John Browner was on with us the other day. he's dynamite.
He's amazing, and I'm at T-Mobile, and I tuned into his debut with you guys. Just a future star, and he has been for quite some time. If you listen to Sports Talk Radio in Southern California, he was on with us on 1090 back in the day, and now he's a part of our team. And again, the great thing about that is, like, not only do we have the Sporting Tribune today at night, he does his show from 10 to 11, I think it is, on weekdays. So, just continuing to grow the team out here.
And don't forget, Sporting Tribune next week is going to be inundated by World Cup coverage in LA and other places.
No, that's right. We can't wait. Friday it starts, Steve. USA Paraguay. Let's go.
We're ready. A lot of watch parties around Las Vegas. I'm sure a lot of watch parties in LA. Arash, we appreciate it. Enjoy the NBA tonight. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Arash Markazi at Sporting Tribune up on Twitter, at Arash Markazi on Twitter. Coming up, Myles Simmons is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. He'll start us out talking a little NFL, a little more Brendan Sorsby. I'm telling you, on the Sorsby topic, social media is on fire, and I cannot wait for our vast, deep digital video crew to put out some of the stuff that Justin Watkins talked about on the legal front. I can't say this enough to sports radio people and also reporters. Get an attorney on your show and have one on speed dial to talk about these issues, because what you're writing up on social media is some of the dumbest stuff I've ever seen. You have no idea what you're talking about. And yeah, there is whataboutism right now. So save the outrage on the kid who gambled and maybe get a little angry or more angry next time there's something really, really serious in college football.
Live from the Findlay Toyota studio, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
Yep, 5 o'clock hour. Cofield and Company. Tracking baseball. We are the home of A's baseball here in Las Vegas on the LV Sports Network, so we'll be heading out at 5:30 today as coverage begins right here on ESPN Las Vegas for the 6:05 first pitch at LV Ballpark. Yes, A's are on the ground here playing Major League Baseball. Pretty incredible. A's and Brewers, rubber match of that series. We've also got Knicks and Spurs over on our sister station, R&R 920, Raider Nation Radio 920. Lot to cover. A lot more on the Spurs and the Knicks and the pearl clutching by Knicks fans. Man, what happened to the days of Mace in your face and the Oak Man when the Knicks were the badasses? Now they're all afraid. Wemby, he's mean, he's violent. Come on, New York, nut up. And by nut up, I don't mean beat the crap out of each other and Spurs fans. All right? Cut it out, please. And the pearl clutching going on over Brendan Sorsby. It's unlike anything I've seen. College football fans really are the best. They are the best at passing the buck and whataboutism. Amazing stuff going on right now with Sorsby, who is eligible to play, but now other schools should say they're not going to play Texas Tech. Go ahead and do that. Let's see what happens. Myles Simmons is in. He works in the wild world of the NFL. This is the slow time of year, right, Myles?
Yeah, it should be. At least it usually kind of is. You know, we're supposed to be gearing up for our 6-week break before training camps start. But then, you know, there's trades. The best quarterback in the league gets a new contract today. Like, I can't take my usual break here, Steve.
Well, you know, the Sorsby thing, it does have some applications for the NFL. I still don't understand that
yes.
Part of the news cycle the other day with the ruling that he can play college football was, and he's agreed there won't be a supplemental draft. Like, I don't know if that's final yet. I have no idea what could happen here in short time. But I wanted to cover the possible supplemental draft from this angle. I thought it was interesting that the Browns coach, Todd Monken, basically came out and said, we don't have interest in Sorsby because there's a slippery slope. And I think he was really getting at, hey, this kid's got character issues and we probably wouldn't want in on the Brendan Sorsby game. How'd you read what he said?
Basically that he is not interested in a franchise quarterback or a quarterback that could become a franchise quarterback that is basically at risk of having a slip up and then missing games because he bets on sports. Because if he bets on NFL games and if he's a backup and he bets on his team like he did when he was at Indiana, then that's something where you're going to be suspended from the NFL for a substantial amount of time and potentially banned. So I think that's a big part of it. And, you know, look, you can say that, all right, you know, you've got a situation where you've got Shadur Sanders and number 4 who's on that team and Dylan Gabriel, and they just drafted a kid in the 6th round too. But, and adding Sorsby to that mix,
yes,
like could be something. But I think as a coach and as a veteran coach that Todd Monken is, he just recognizes like, hey, this is something that I don't want to deal with. I got enough problems being head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I don't need another complication from something like that.
Well, I'm glad he you won't call Deshaun Watson by his name, but I'm glad he didn't make it straight out obvious and say, hey, we already got Deshaun Watson. We already went down this path with a guy who had some moral issues and cost himself playing time. We can't do this again, but he's not going to go that far. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Sorsby. I would roll the dice on him with a 3rd or 4th round pick, and if I'm an organization banking on the fact that I may get in position to take Arch Manning, I'm not willing to take that risk. But one of my buddies who does Cleveland radio, the fan morning show with Ken Carman, is Anthony Lima, and he said he very much has interest in the Browns, possibly if they were in the supplemental draft or the player was in the supplemental draft, getting their franchise quarterback Sorsby and then still not being very good and getting a high pick and landing Jeremiah Smith. That would be a nice combo.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay. I mean, as Ken likes to say, because those two are my buddies too, you know, you can wish in one hand and you know what in the other and see what gets filled up first, right? I mean, like, I just, like, that's such a Lima take, which I realized, like, now as we're talking to people in Vegas, like, that's very inside baseball and it's kind of unnecessary. But, like, it's just, it's like, Lima would say something like that. Look, I think that, again, the Browns have enough problems, right? And they're probably not going to be very good anyway this year. You just traded your best player, probably your best player of the last 10 years, you know, in Myles Garrett. And that's going to cost you probably a win to 2 wins, just based on all the things that Myles Garrett does for a team just by his presence, let alone his great play. So do you really need to add that guy as your quarterback to it? And like, I don't know. I don't feel the same way that you do. I guess I am clutching my pearls, Steve, when it comes to college football and this. And I'm not saying that, you know, everybody's got to come out and be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. We can't play Texas Tech and da-da-da-da-da. But what I do think is true is that there should be consequences for placing bets on your own team, and because you're affecting the integrity of the game. And the fact that, you know, the NCAA apparently can't levy those penalties, and Texas Tech is, for good reason, uninterested in levying its own penalties. And you got the AD coming out in this disingenuous thing that's like statement, not a thing, a statement saying effectively, hey, well, we have to support this kid because, you know, we if he doesn't play, then we're not supporting him. That's the way we support him, is by him playing. It's like, well, wait a minute. You can support somebody with an addiction without them actually being out on the field and enjoying the privilege of playing the sport. So I think that there is a middle ground here where there has to be some punishment, right? And the fact that the judge levies a 2-game suspension, like that also seems real weird to me. So I hate to be like, Congress has to get involved here, guy, but the path that we're on right now and the train tracks that we're on are just wrong. Like there's so much mess here that somebody's got to be able to solve this.
Well, and the NCAA opens itself up for whataboutism all the time. We just had a great conversation with our legal insider who said, you know, the school that's escaping on this one is the school that played him and knew he had an addiction and then didn't self-report or tell the next school in the portal that Sorsby had an issue, and that's Cincinnati. And somehow Cincinnati in the same conference is escaping. So Cincy's certainly an issue. And my whole take on this is, if this is the final straw to bring this thing crashing down, when you've got talent, you've got laborers, they need to be included in what the penalties are in negotiations. And that means there needs to be collective bargaining. Otherwise, there's always room for lawsuits, because rules don't mean anything when all parties are not involved. And, of course, people are going to challenge it. When you really don't have power, they're going to push back. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I totally agree with you on the collective bargaining aspect of it. It's something we've been talking about at Pro Football Talk, and you can certainly read Mike Florio's work about that at ProFootballTalk.com because look, this is a situation where, you know, Florio's history as a lawyer certainly does inform the takes that he has on this subject, and that's really what he has been saying over the last week. Look, this is something that if you had collective bargaining, then yes, you have the authority to levy the penalty. And I think that we are in a situation where we need to see something like that happen. So
and if you had it, Myles, the courts stay out of your business, because that's what happens.
Exactly.
In all these other sports where it's collectively bargained, you can challenge the NFL all you want. Guess what? It's not going to go very far, because they look at it and they're like, hey, you guys agreed to this. You guys got to work it out. Myles Simmons with us from Pro Football Talk. Last couple things on the Browns, kind of a light note. Joel Bitonio, offensive lineman, retired. We were just on in Reno for an hour, so he played at Nevada. He's actually a Long Beach, California guy. So, a guy like that who has to go through a career where, he's one of the grunts and you don't win a whole lot. So I saw you give a little send-off to Joel, who retired.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. He is honestly one of the all-time Browns that since their return in 1999. And it's a shame you got guys like him and Joe Thomas who didn't really experience that much success. I mean, at least for Bitonio, he went to the playoffs a couple times, had one playoff win in that big game that they had over the Steelers in that weird 2020 season and postseason. So you kind of wish a guy like that could continue to play. But you just know, like, hey, if the guy says it's time to hang it up, he knows it's time to hang it up, and it's because of his body. So absolutely, salute Joel Bitonio. What a really nice career.
You hinted at the story with Pat Mahomes. We'll get to that in a second. Why did the Rams extend Myles Garrett, give him more money? And they don't have to do that. I wonder why they did it.
Well, part of it is cap implications, right? The Rams are a team that knows how to manipulate the cap, which I think is pretty obvious when not only do you trade for Myles Garrett, but you also have added and extended a Trent McDuffie in the same offseason. I mean, it's two top 3 players at their position in the National Football League, and also those are guys that were playing positions where the Rams needed to improve over the course of the offseason, particularly Trent McDuffie. And they also, of course, signed Jalen Watson on the back end, also from Kansas City. So when you have all those things happen, you have Matthew Stafford, who's making the amount of money that he's making. You have Puka Nacua, who is in line for a raise, certainly, because he's completed that 3rd season. And technically, I mean, maybe if he hadn't done some of the off-the-field antics, we would be in a different situation right now with Nacua. But he should not be practicing because he is a former 5th-round pick, and he's still on a 5th-round rookie deal. He needs to get paid, right? So that's something there, too. So all of those things, I think, add up to, hey, if we extend Myles Garrett, then and move some money around, manipulate the cap a little bit, have something signing bonus versus a base salary. Like, that's how you can add these players in the way that they have. And I think Myles Garrett's cap number this year is something like $8 million. Which is kind of ridiculous for who he is and the production that he's going to be. It's not his cash number, of course, but it is what's on the cap.
Okay, what was the deal with Mahomes? We're talking over $500 million now?
Yeah, apparently. And, it's going to be interesting when we see what the actual contract is. I mean, do I think that Patrick Mahomes will see over $500 million in salary over the rest of his career? Yes, I do. I mean, you think about 2033, which is what he's under contract through now. I mean, that's such a long time from now. I mean, it would be, I think, his 15th or so season. Like, there's a good chance that he's going to play out that contract, or at least play out some version of it, and then they'll extend him again, and it'll be this and it'll be that. But Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the National Football League, at least in my estimation. And, they've won so much with him. I think that Patrick Mahomes will probably be ready week 1. But this is the first contract in NFL history that is supposed to pay the player over $500 million. And it also, once it gets to 2027, and he gets the new money factored in there, will have an average annual value of over 64 million, which is also an NFL record. And so I think, I was doing PFT the other day, and, you had the graphic where it was like the top 10 quarterback salaries and average annual value, and Patrick Mahomes wasn't on it. And I just kind of thought in the back of my mind, like, that's interesting that Patrick Mahomes is not there. And lo and behold, 2 days later, bada bing, bada boom, he's there.
I saw your tweet that showed Myles Garrett being driven up to the facility for the press conference, and you made a joke about maybe he should stick to that, right? About not driving around L.A. I mean, on a serious note, he has had a lot of issues, and I didn't realize, listen, I drive like a lunatic too. I don't know that I would change if I had a rollover accident, but it might make me think twice. I'd forgotten that he was in a freaking rollover accident back in 2022. And keep in mind now, the stadium is nowhere near Woodland Hills.
Yeah, I mean, he was driving a Porsche and he flipped it over. I mean, my gosh, he was lucky that he walked away as unscathed as he did. And I mean, those are on the back roads of Ohio. I mean, look, if you're driving on the 405 going back up to Woodland Hills or wherever you
The 101 is a living hell, Myles. The 101, it scares me.
Yeah. you can. It used to scare me too, and I used to have to drive up there when I lived up there. But like there's a lot of risk, right? I mean, and like people drive crazy out here sometimes, but you don't want players to do stuff like that. I mean, Myles Garrett has such a history of this. I think it was either last year when they went to play the Panthers or the year before, and he came back from a preseason game in which he hadn't played, and he got caught for speeding again. And it's like, dude, like, just stop. Because I'll tell you this, Steve. When I used to work for the Rams and I was on their media team, and I would be on the charter flight, one of the things that would happen when we got back to LAX from wherever we were going on a road trip, the veteran players, instead of taking the buses home, would get off the bus at LAX and have a black car take them home. You know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you can do when you are a player and you get paid that much money. So I hope Myles Garrett just continues to ride around in Los Angeles, because driving around here can be terrible. And there's no reason for you to be driving at that rate of speed, especially when you make that much money and you're that important to the fortunes of a potential championship team.
Myles Simmons with us, Pro Football Talk here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Knicks and
you're
Spurs.
endangering the lives of yourself and others. Sorry, I should say that too.
It hit. Believe me, it hits home here with Henry Ruggs and Tina Tintor and Tina's dog and that whole thing. And that was in a neighborhood relatively close to this radio station and pretty close to where I live. Ruggs actually lived right around the corner from where I live now. Okay, less serious problems. One, apparently, are you still a moviegoer or are you a movie ticket purchaser? What was going on the other day? You started flipping out. Anytime I see someone start to melt down on Twitter about something, I get concerned.
Well, because AMC Theaters was starting to sell tickets for the Odyssey. Okay. And, we have the best IMAX, theater in Los Angeles is at Universal City. And I wanted to get tickets for me and my buddy to go see the Odyssey in 70 millimeter IMAX at the best theater that we can go to, right? And it just turned into an abject disaster because, all these places, they're saying, buy your tickets at 10 a.m. or whatever it was, or 9, I don't remember. But all of them, they say, do this. And so then we all start doing it, and then the servers crash. And this is what I really don't understand. When we've got as many places now and data centers and all this, how are we still having website crashes in the year of our Lord 2026? And you are advertising the hell out of this movie, so you want to drive interest, but then you can't handle the interest? What's going on here? Why are we still doing this like this? And I don't really, I don't get that. I don't understand why we have to do things that way. And I don't understand why, if you're going to advertise this much, and you know that there's going to be interest because it's a Christopher Nolan movie, that you can't handle people trying to buy it. Come on.
No need to go out tonight. You can watch the NBA. And apparently a lot of people are watching the NBA. The ratings are freaking through the roof. I'll give those numbers in about 5 minutes. But, man, these games have been so much fun because they're down to the wire. And now you have these storylines developing, about 210-pound Wemby being too tough for New York and roughing up Jalen Brunson. And, now they're starting to threaten him. There are letters being written, notes being written. You always need drama, and there always is around the NBA Finals. But this is a hell of a matchup with the future of the league and then the biggest city in the market so hungry to win a title.
Yeah, it's been so fun to watch. And, I'm a Cavs fan, and, but I knew that once the Cavs got to the Eastern Conference Finals, they weren't going to beat the Knicks. That was just never going to happen. And so you accept that, and then you see what happened in the Western Conference Finals and how that kind of went down to the wire. And, the Spurs did what they had to do in Game 7 on the road, which was awesome. And then for them to lose both of those games at home, and then in the manner in which they lost Game 2 as well, for them to come back and really kind of control that game, that Game 3 in New York, at Madison Square Garden. It's kind of cool that they were able to meet that moment. I'm curious to see what's going to happen tonight. Is Karl Anthony Towns going to continue to be the guy that he's been, at least in the first couple games of this series? And then you have to have Brunson make more shots earlier on, I think, than him just kind of getting it going in the fourth quarter. He's got to do more, a little bit more consistently. And I want to see Wemby be a little bit more aggressive too. He's played well. Obviously, he played well enough for them to win Game 3 the other night. But let's go and be a little bit more dominant in this from start to finish, So yeah, I hope the Spurs win. So, that means we get a guaranteed game 6, but I'm interested to see who does, and I'm sure it'll be a competitive game tonight.
And what I love about the series and about the NBA, because the players are the most visible of really any sport. Baseball, they're visible, but baseball does a horrible job of marketing its personality, so no one knows who Mike Trout is still. It's amazing. Think about what we've got in this series. Kevin Garnett said before the Spurs took on the Knicks that basically Wemby is too wimpy, he cries too much, he's too soft, he won't be able to handle New York. We're 3 games in now, and now he's violent. He should have got a flagrant handed to him after the game. He's out of control. He's a dirty player. Like, wait, what? You're talking about the 7'4", 210-pound French guy who was sketching in the park the other day before the game. What?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Well, I mean, this is narratives, right? This is what we need. We have to be able to talk about this kinds of stuff whenever these kinds of things happen, Steve. Yeah. So I do think it's interesting how that's flipped so quickly, because it kind of doesn't make sense when you think about it like logically. Like, this is not this violent, I don't know, whatever, like thug, if you want to use that pejorative word, which I kind of don't, but I did. So it's like, that's not who Wemby is. I think that he has had some missteps, right? Like that elbow he threw in the last series, that you don't need to be doing stuff like that. But at the same time, as long as he's playing aggressive, playing within the rules, I want to see it, right? Like, let's go.
And then I want you to play this game along with me, because while Jason Whitlock is very polarizing and has built his brand in a certain way, which I think is pretty obvious, his efforts to try to get his audience to hate the big Frenchman are kind of amazing. He tweeted out today, Wembanyama is the most protected player in NBA history. Okay. He skipped the national anthem before Game 3. If you remember, there was also a kerfuffle over Game 1. You probably don't remember because it didn't really take off. People were mad that he stood there for the national anthem and he had his arms crossed. Disrespectfully had his arms crossed. Apparently ESPN has ignored this. Yeah, they've ignored this. Now they ignored a flagrant foul with Brunson, and the capper, of course, pun intended, is Wemby equals Colin Kaepernick. Let's do this. Come on now.
What?
Let's do this. I hate Wembanyama. I don't like him. I'm kidding, of course, but yes, let's do this.
I mean, I don't have anything nice to say about Jason Whitlock.
I know.
So I'll just
most people don't, and that's why I mentioned it's a bit, it's a game. I think it's a damaging game.
He said some unkind things about me too. So
oh, he did. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I hope he didn't go after Florio at any point, because we know Mike's not going to take that.
That's what he was doing in me as.
Oh
as
no.
So
oh no.
I'm not really a fan of that guy.
Yes, I can understand that one. Okay, well, let's close on. I think Florio has the ability to do this sometimes, and he's going to stir the pot. Let's close on. He says, headline, as political pressure on the NFL intensifies, will the league eventually dump Fox as a partner? Wow, okay.
Really?
Yeah, that is the headline on PFT right now. That will get that will get the Whitlock backers. Maybe that's why he did it. That will get them worked up again.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I haven't read that. I've been working out for the last hour or so that's probably why I haven't seen that one.
Yes, you're looking healthy and happy and not getting aggravated by social media, as I often do. But I kind of take it for what it is now. All right, Myles. Thanks, man. We appreciate you coming on today, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care, guys.
There he is. Myles Simmons. Didn't realize he'd been attacked by Jason Whitlock, so he's going to stay out of that conversation. So eventually, well, I won't be, for obvious reasons. Come on, look at me. Come on. I'd be his buddy. Come on now. That's right. Right? James is laughing. Okay, the game's coming up. We got the A's game on ESPN Las Vegas. Coverage starts here at 5:30 with a 6:05 first pitch. By the way, hometown hero Bryce Harper with a home run. Schwarby with a home run. Phillies are on the road. It's 6-0 as Max Scherzer was the first guy to get destroyed. And the very up and down Jesus Luzardo right now is pitching well. Knock on whatever this table's made of, right? I'll see if he can continue that one. I do have a Phillies bet in-house on the show. Phillies, Braves. I think the Phillies were 11.5 back. They've played wonderful baseball, and now they're 8.5 back. So that I'm not really winning that deal, but at least they're in the game because the Braves just won't stop. Although we were watching the game yesterday with the Braves. Ronald Acuna has hammy tightness, and I think he officially went on the ILDL, whatever we're calling it now. So basketball games coming up on Raider Nation Radio 920. And I keep joking all show about the fact that, boy, New York can really turn into a bunch of pansies when they have an angle and they can make an enemy out of someone. And we had John Browner on yesterday, who's a good NBA analyst. And, John said be careful what you wish for if you're Mike Brown. And I'll extend this. Be careful what you wish for if you're a New York media person who's kind of a Knick fan. You know, you got your suit on, but you got your old Larry Johnson jersey or your Bob Thornton jersey on. That's an old reference. I'll make it again in a second. You don't want flagrant fouls being called. You don't want rough play being policed in this series. And this is something John mentioned yesterday. If you want this game called tightly, I mean, Wemby might get an extra foul or two, but you're going to pile up a lot of fouls on Victor Wembanyama trying to play defense. Again, he is 7'4" and 210 pounds. He falls down pretty easily. And I've seen a couple of people mention, like, go out there and belt Wemby. What is that going to do? Because then what you're going to have happen is a game that is called so tightly, and I'm worried about this now. I'm worried about this thing being clamped down and getting like 85 free throws combined. Listen, they're all big boys. They're all rough and tough. They all got to survive. If you watch the last game, it was almost like there was freaking MMA hand fighting going on in every individual matchup around the floor. They can't call everything, and you don't want them to call everything. Spurs aren't going to win tonight. And watch the headlines tomorrow. Look out, DJT. Because the early mentions of that Trump curse, you think Stephen A. flipped out before this one? Oh, boy. It's going to get real, real heated. We got A's baseball coming up here on Raider Nation Radio 920, our sister station. Listen to the game. Spurs Knicks. We'll see you.